Have you ever felt like the forest was watching you? Like every snap of a twig meant something more? Tonight, we're diving into real wilderness horror stories, stories that take place miles from civilization, where help is just not coming. It all starts with three lifelong friends, Ben, Marcus, and Daniel, each in their late 20s and lovers of the outdoors. Every year, they plan a week-long camping trip in a new, remote location. This year, they chose the Black Hollow region in the Pacific Northwest, a place rumored to be breathtaking, untouched, and eerily silent. They weren't the superstitious type. Ben was a wildlife photographer, practical and calm under pressure. Marcus worked in search and rescue, skeptical of every ghost tale but full of cautionary wisdom. And Daniel? He was the thrill seeker. The guy who laughs off danger, always first to venture off-trail or suggest hiking after dark. On the third night, things took a turn. The air grew still. No crickets. No wind. Just silence. That's when they saw it, faint lights, flickering deep in the woods where there should have been nothing. Not a soul. And then the screams. Muffled, but unmistakable. A woman's voice, begging, pleading. They debated whether to investigate or pack up and leave. But Daniel was already walking toward the sound, flashlight in hand, grinning like it was all a joke. What they found, or what found them, changed everything. The woods they thought they knew turned into something unrecognizable. Something ancient. Something watching. And then Daniel vanished. Stay tuned, because what happens next unravels a terrifying mystery buried beneath the forest floor, one that locals refuse to speak of, and that Ben and Marcus wish they'd never uncovered. This is not a story about getting lost. It's about what finds you after. Ben and Marcus stood frozen, flashlights trembling in their hands. The beam of light bounced between trees, catching nothing but fog and branches. Daniel had been just ahead of them, not even 30 feet, and now he was gone. No sounds. No footsteps. Just gone. They called out his name. First calmly, then shouting. Over and over. Daniel. Echoes swallowed their voices, the stillness of the woods pressing in around them like a weight. Marcus, who'd navigated dozens of search and rescue operations, tried to stay rational. He probably wandered off the path. Maybe trying to scare us, he muttered, more to himself than to Ben. But his voice lacked confidence. Because even he knew, Daniel wouldn't pull a prank like this in pitch-black forest miles from civilization. The two retraced their steps, then pushed deeper into the woods, their boots crunching against fallen pine needles and half-frozen soil. The deeper they went, the stranger things became. Trees bent at odd angles, moss growing in unnatural patterns, and that same flickering light, always ahead, always just out of reach. Then they stumbled across something that stopped them cold, a clearing, perfectly circular, with animal bones arranged in strange, spiral patterns. Dozens of them. No blood. No signs of predators. Just clean, sun-bleached remains, and a single, torn piece of Daniel's jacket caught on a tree branch nearby. Ben picked it up with shaking hands. This is real, he whispered. Something's wrong here. Marcus looked around, his military-style flashlight scanning the clearing. We're not alone, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Neither of them noticed the fresh footprints forming in the soil behind them. This wasn't just a missing person. It was a descent into something far more terrifying, something ancient and watching, waiting for them to take the next step. Ben and Marcus made the difficult decision to return to camp, hoping Daniel had circled back somehow. But when they arrived, the site was trashed. Their tent was slashed open. Supplies, rifled through or missing. The fire pit was still warm, but no signs of Daniel. Not a note. Not a footprint. Nothing but the low rustle of leaves whispering secrets they didn't want to hear. We need to get out of here, Ben said, trying to steady his breath. Now, hike out and call for help. But Marcus hesitated. We're over 12 miles from the trailhead. With no radio and barely any signal, we won't make it before dark. And something doesn't want us leaving. That night, they took turns keeping watch. Around 3 a.m., Ben spotted movement near the tree line. A figure, tall, impossibly still, stood just beyond the reach of the firelight. Not Daniel. Too tall. Too thin. When he blinked, it was gone. Meanwhile, Marcus kept finding things in his pack that didn't belong. Stones carved with symbols, bits of fur wrapped in twine, and a small notebook that definitely hadn't been there before. The notebook contained strange sketches, circles, spirals, eyes. Pages torn, others burned around the edges. The last legible entry. The forest doesn't let you leave. Not once it knows your name. As daylight broke, Marcus quietly admitted something he hadn't told Ben before. Years ago, during a rescue op, he'd passed through Black Hollow. A hiker had vanished, same exact area. No remains ever found. Locals had warned the team, said it was cursed land, protected by something older than time. Ben stared at him, fury and fear mixing in his voice. You knew, and you brought us here anyway? But Marcus didn't respond. He was too busy staring at the edge of the trees, where Daniel was now. Ben scrambled to his feet, nearly tripping over the remains of the firewood. Daniel, he shouted, voice cracking. But Daniel didn't answer. He just stood there, at the forest's edge, shirt torn, face expressionless, eyes wide and glassy like he was sleepwalking or drugged. Marcus stepped in front of Ben. Something's not right. Look at his hands. They were covered in ash. Not dirt. Not blood. Just ash, falling like soot from his fingertips as he slowly raised them, palms facing outward, almost like he was offering something or warning them. Ben took a cautious step forward, but Marcus grabbed his arm. Don't. That's not Daniel. Then Daniel's mouth moved, but the voice that came out wasn't his. It was fractured, low, almost layered, like more than one person speaking through him. You were warned. This place remembers every name, every trespass. The woods behind Daniel shuddered, trees bending without wind, branches creaking like bones. And then, behind him, shapes began to move. Tall, thin silhouettes stepping silently between trunks. No eyes, no faces, just hollow outlines of something ancient and unrecognizable. Panic set in. Ben grabbed his pack. We need to move. Now. But Marcus stood frozen. The notebook, still in his hand, had begun to bleed. Actual blood, seeping from the pages, dripping onto the forest floor. On the back cover, new words had appeared in shaky handwriting. One stays. One leaves. Ben didn't wait. He pulled Marcus, who seemed locked in place, back toward the trail. But the forest had shifted. Landmarks were gone. The path they came in on? Erased. Branches closed in. The woods were alive now, guiding them, corralling them, like prey being herded toward a trap. And somewhere behind them, Daniel, or whatever he had become, began to follow. Slowly, silently, step by step, standing, eyes blank, unmoving. Ben and Marcus pushed deeper into the forest, every direction feeling wrong. The trees now looked identical, tall, gnarled, bark flaking like dried skin. No birds, no insects, just the sound of their breath and the slow, deliberate footsteps trailing behind them. But then, the sound stopped. Marcus spun around, flashlight beam sweeping across empty woods. Daniel was gone. No movement, no sound, only stillness. Then, from above, a scream. They looked up just in time to see something fall from the canopy. It hit the ground hard between them, kicking up dirt and leaves. Ben rushed over, heart pounding, only to find a GoPro. It was Daniel's. Ben fumbled to switch it on. The screen flickered to life. Low battery. One video file. He hit play. The footage was shaky, distorted by static, but Daniel's voice came through, panicked and whispering. If you're seeing this, don't trust the forest. It's not just watching, it feeds. It shows you things. Things you want. Things you fear. The camera panned to a figure in the distance, Ben, standing in the same clearing they'd found earlier. But Ben was watching from behind the screen. That's not me, he whispered. Marcus looked sick. Then where was he filming from? Before they could process it, the forest shifted again. A sudden burst of wind slammed into them, and when it cleared, Ben was alone. Marcus was gone. In his place, hanging from a nearby branch, was the notebook. Pages open, ink still wet. And now Ben's name was written on the last page in bold, jagged letters. Below it, offer accepted. Ben backed away slowly, the camera still in hand. But the forest wasn't done. Ahead, a flicker of campfire light. Laughter. Voices he recognized. Voices that shouldn't be alive. Ben crept toward the flickering campfire light, his breath shallow, boots silent over the forest floor. The laughter grew clearer, familiar, warm, wrong. He stepped into the clearing and froze. There they were, Daniel and Marcus, sitting around a fire, just like the first night. Smiling, laughing, as if nothing had happened, as if none of it had ever happened. Hey, man, Daniel called out casually. Took you long enough. We were starting to think you got lost. Ben stared in disbelief. What is this? He demanded. You disappeared. I watched you vanish. You, Marcus raised a hand. Relax, Ben. It's okay now. We're safe. but something in their eyes was hollow, rehearsed, like they were reading lines from a script. Ben stepped closer and saw it, their shadows. They weren't moving with the firelight. They were frozen, stuck in place. No, Ben whispered, stepping back. This isn't real. Then the forest answered. The fire suddenly died, plunging everything into darkness. The air turned ice cold. From the shadows, a voice, Daniel's, but warped and layered, echoed around him. You chose to stay. That was always the deal. The notebook in Ben's hand burned hot. He dropped it, watching the pages curl and blacken. From the ashes, something crawled out. A figure, tall, Eyeless, reaching for him with spindly fingers. Ben screamed, fighting it, refusing to give in, when suddenly, daylight broke through the trees. The figure recoiled. Birds chirped. The forest fell still. Ben was alone again. Rescue teams found him a week later, dazed, dehydrated, but alive. He never spoke of what happened. But back home, as he unpacked his gear, he found something buried in his backpack. The notebook. And this time, on the last page, it read, Ben never went back to the woods. In the weeks that followed his return, he tried to live a normal life. But something had changed. The nightmares were constant, visions of Daniel and Marcus calling to him from the trees, their faces distorted, their voices echoing through the branches. He knew they were gone. Whatever took them in Black Hollow had kept them. Ben turned the notebook into local authorities, but when they opened it, every page was blank. No blood. No names. Just old, yellowed paper. The forest had covered its tracks. Again. But the final twist? Months later, Ben found a photo tucked inside his old camping gear. A photo he didn't take. It showed him standing in the clearing, the one with the bone spirals. Except in the background, half hidden among the trees, was another figure. Watching. Always watching. Some say the Black Hollow Forest is cursed. Others say it's just another wilderness horror story. But Ben knows the truth. The forest doesn't forget. It chooses who it lets leave. And it always takes something in return. So, next time you think about venturing deep into the wilderness, ask yourself, what will the forest take from you? Thanks for sticking around to the end. Did you enjoy this creepy true wilderness horror story? Let us know in the comments. What kinds of horror stories do you want to hear next? Woods? Abandoned places? Urban legends? Your feedback helps us keep the chills coming. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale from the shadows.